Breaking news, and it deals with AUSTRAC, which is the organisation which looks at money laundering and terror financing, and it's targeting today one of our biggest banks.
It's targeting Westpac, and this is an absolutely extraordinary development. They've come out and said that there are allegedly 23 million occasions in which they have breached the proper protocol for transferring money overseas and monitoring it. And the allegation is that that money was going to child exploitation, amounts over $11 billion. Now, Kieran, to put this in context, one of the largest corporate fines in Australian history was against the Commonwealth Bank for 53,000 breaches of terrorism financing. That was $700 million. Now, this morning, when the chief of AUSTRAC was speaking, Nicole Rose, she wouldn't say what the penalty could be, but this could be history in the making. Yeah,
and some of the numbers are absolutely extraordinary. AUSTRAC alleges that Westpac contravened the relevant money laundering, anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing act on 23 million occasions. Another revelation which was made by the AUSTRAC Chief Executive, Nicole Rose, at her news conference was that AUSTRAC also alleges that Westpac was aware that some of its customers were using its organisation, its institution, to funnel money which was spent on as you mentioned, child exploitation in Southeast Asia, and that the bank and its staff knew about it for 5 years but did nothing. Here was the AUSTRAC chief.
AUSTRAC alleges that Westpac's oversight of its corresponding banking services was deficient, and that its oversight of its anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing program was also deficient. These failures in oversight resulted in serious and systemic non-compliance with the AML-CTF Act.
Of course, Kieran, the implication is that there could be other banks who are also caught up in this, and that's what makes this so alarming. But if we look at these figures that have been given to us by AUSTRAC, late incoming IFTIs received from our 4 correspondent banks alone represent over 72% of all incoming IFTIs. Now, that's international fund transfer instructions. That is key to what AUSTRAC does, is monitoring where that money goes to. And in this case, it could have been going to child exploitation.
Absolutely extraordinary claims from AUSTRAC. And as we mentioned earlier, this is much broader than, of course, we saw in the Royal Commission the impact on consumers and business. This goes to the very heart of law enforcement in this country, because AUSTRAC is the financial arm of our authorities when they look at where money's coming from overseas, whether it is coming from terrorism-related sources or whether it's being laundered, or whether, as you said quite disturbingly, money is being funneled for nefarious purposes like child abuse in our region. And what I find extraordinary with that, one of those suggestions there from AUSTRAC, that Westpac and with some of its staff knew that money was being funneled through Westpac for child abuse in the region, but knew about it for 5 years, but nothing was done.
Absolutely shocking. And there has been a response from Westpac. We will be going through that in detail with our business editor, Tikki Fullerton, shortly. But